Dots, knots, curves, lines, ants and birds feed on me. Square circle, lotus paisley, roving eyes admire me. On the floor, next to a door, to stamp or not, the question be. Prayer portal, an offering so sacred, I hold within me a cosmic secret. I am one of the 64. Who am I? Some of you, especially if you are from India, may have already guessed what our first ancient art is. And depending on what part of India you come from or what you've been exposed to, you may know this by different names. And I want to welcome all of us into the world of Chatushashti Kala with this ancient art form which symbolizes welcoming into your home, into our home, all things auspicious and all people good and kind. The name of this ancient art in Sanskrit is TandulaKusumaValiVikaara. Tandula meaning rice, Kusuma meaning flower, Vali meaning an array or arrangement or alignment, and Vikara meaning a product. So in essence, what this means is this ancient art is a product derived by arranging rice and flowers. Rice is used in two ways. One is rice is powdered into a coarse sand-like texture. This is then pinched between fingers and steadily released to create patterns on the floor. The other way of using rice is to soak rice in water and grind it into a fine flowy paste, and then using a very small piece of cloth, ideally muslin, dipped in the paste, and the cloth is held between your fingers and it's gently squeezed to create a flow of paste, and the patterns are then made with 2 or 3 fingers. Flowers can be used whole or as loose petals. Occasionally, the rice is used to outline a pattern, and loose petals are used to fill inside those patterns. Now, like I said earlier, depending on which part of India you come from, you will know it by different names. So in the eastern part of India, this art is called as Alpana. Mugu, Mugulu, Kolam, Kalam is how it's called respectively in the 4 southern regions of India. But the common name, which is commonly understood and used more popularly, is the word Rangoli. This art can be simple or it can be complex, matrix-like grids full of intricate and minute details. Also, across the regions, the manifestation of this expression varies, taking in a lot of regional and cultural motifs and symbols. They are traditionally made at entrances of homes and places of worship, especially temples. They're also made at shrines and altars of deities. This art form is both a ceremonial as well as an everyday ritual. I grew up on kolams. Tati used to make kolams every day in the morning. It used to happen after her coffee and right before she went to shower. She would quickly step out, bend over her hips and stretch her hands and quickly draw some kolam with the sand. So I don't know at what point people started shifting from using rice flour to white sand. She would use the white sand or the rangoli powder or kolam podi as it is popularly known. And on occasions and festivals, my mother used to make these really elaborate kolams with the rice paste, with a lot of minute and intricate details. It can be considered a prayer or an offering to earth. It's often made outside, on the floor, on the ground. In olden days, people used to clean the front of their house with water that had cow dung mixed into it, because cow dung is said to have antibacterial properties, and that's how they would prepare the ground in front of their homes. And once while it would still be damp, they would use rice flour and make these patterns on the ground. If it is made at a shrine or an altar of a deity, then it can be considered as an offering to that deity. While this ritual is sacred, but there is also something very everyday about this ritual. Creating this column, creating these patterns on the floor requires one to stretch and bend and sometimes even push one's physical boundaries, that just creating this art form feels like a workout in itself. Amazing, no? Create something and get a workout done. I used to be entranced watching Tati and my mother make columns. It used to feel as if they were moving in a trance. They used to come up with these patterns intuitively, and their hands would move freely, creating patterns that were perfectly symmetrical. There was a strange stillness to it, overcome by peace and calm. I've spent so many languid afternoons watching ants and little sparrows nibble away at the column. Once I also saw a rat at night making a meal of the column. For me, this art is a perfect manifestation of magic in the mundane. This practice is also full of symbolism and metaphors from folklore and mythology. One of the most popular beliefs is how drawing a column at the entrance of a home can fill that home with peace, prosperity, and all things auspicious. And there is a fascinating story from mythology as to how this belief came to be. So once, devas, or the gods, were under a curse which weakened them and took away all their powers. The asuras, or the demons, found this opportunity to attack the worlds of the gods and started taking over there. The gods panicked and they went to Vishnu. And Vishnu suggested that the only way for them to restore their vitality would be to consume the elixir of life, the nectar of immortality, Amrit. Amrit, Amritam, or Amritam. Mrit meaning death or mortality, and Amrit meaning immortality. So the only way for the devas to restore their vitality would be consuming the Amrit, and the only way to get Amrit would be by churning the ocean of milk. Now, how were the devas to churn the ocean of milk? They couldn't do it without the assistance of the asuras. So they thought about it and convinced the asuras to help the devas find the elixir of life by making a deal. The devas promised to share the nectar with the asuras. Now, who doesn't want to be immortal? So the asuras fell for it and agreed. And so, right in the middle of the ocean, they placed the Mandara mountain. The Mandara mountain acted as the churning rod. Vasuki, the serpent, the humongous serpent, was the churning rope. So they tied Vasuki around Mount Mandara. The asuras held on to the head of Vasuki, and the devas held on to the tail of Vasuki. And they started to churn, 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 churn. And soon enough, under all that pressure, Mount Mandara began to sink. So what did Vishnu do? Quickly, Vishnu took the form of Kurma or the turtle and slid himself under the mountain so that the churning could resume. And they began churning again. Churn, 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 churn. And do you know how long this churning lasted? It lasted for a whole 1,000 years. Yes, it took 1,000 years for the elixir of life to emerge from the ocean. However, during those 1,000 years, there were several things that emerged from the ocean, including poison, wine, antidotes, as well as nymphs and deities. So one of the deities who emerged from this churning was a goddess called Jyeshtha. Jyeshtha was the goddess of impoverishment, scarcity, and all things inauspicious. After she emerged, she asked people present there, where should she go? So Vishnu told her to go find a home in a house that was kept unclean, unkempt, full of clutter and chaotic. And so Jyeshtha resides in a house that is full of clutter and which is unclean and disorganized and chaotic. Towards the end, as the elixir of life emerged, another goddess emerged, Lakshmi, the goddess of all things auspicious, of prosperity, of wealth. And after Lakshmi emerged, she asked, where should she go? And she was asked to find a home in a house that was very well kept, that was clean, organized, and importantly, at its entrance was a beautifully made kolam. And that is why Lakshmi enters homes that has a beautiful kolam drawn at its entrance and is well kept. And that is where the belief that drawing a kolam at the entrance can fill the home with peace and prosperity emerged. If you look at a kolam, you'll see a lot of lines that sort of loop into each other with no beginning or end, somewhat like a Celtic knot. And this art form is also ephemeral in quality, in the sense that you know that it only lasts the way it is made for a few hours perhaps. It is made to be destroyed, it is meant to be walked on, it is meant to be stamped on. In certain occasions, it is destroyed right after it has been created. And all of these qualities of this art seems to be very symbolic of certain eternal cosmic truths. For example, the never-ending lines, the lines without a beginning or an end, seem to represent the cyclical nature of life, the infinite nature of the universe. Similarly, the need to destroy it talks about the impermanency of life. It also is symbolic of detachment. You know, how does a creator destroy something that they created with your own hands, time, sweat, effort, something that they thought is looking so beautiful? How do you destroy that? But that is just the inherent nature of practicing this art. You just know that it is going to be destroyed and you learn to accept it.